My name is Thomas, and I am a disciple of Jesus. I'm not one of the important disciples like Peter. I'm one of those whose names you may have trouble remembering. And when you do remember me, you probably think of a man who had to have things proved. I think it's only fair to let me tell my side of the story. Nobody loved Jesus more than I did. But I also have to say that probably none of the other disciples had a harder time than I did understanding the things Jesus said. When we asked him a question, he answered with another question, or with a story, or with a perplexing statement that we simply couldn't understand. At least I couldn't. But maybe sometimes it was because we didn't want to understand. Looking back on it now, I can see that he tried to tell us many times that he was going to be born again. That's right. He was going to be put to death and rise again. But we never expected it to happen. We were all there at the Last Supper before he died, and he talked to us about many things. I knew he was trying to prepare us for something terrible, something we all instinctively shrank from. And we were there later, too, when he was arrested. Now, we've been severely criticized for running away, but think about it a minute from our point of view. The dinner had been very different from the usual Passover feast. We'd been overwhelmed with Jesus' obvious distress. He was a man in deep grief. We had never seen him like that. The garden was quiet, and while Jesus went some distance away to pray, most of us rolled up in our mantles and drifted off to sleep. You can imagine the shock of being wakened by a mob of soldiers with torches, led by Judas, our friend, our companion, who'd betrayed all of us to the authorities. Well, Peter and I had swords and began a feeble sort of defense, but Jesus promptly told us to put away our swords. Peter had cut off one of the soldiers' ears, and he even healed the wounded ear. So what was a man to do? He didn't want us to stay with him. He didn't want us to fight. We couldn't think of anything else to do, so we ran like rabbits, all of us. Though I did find out later that Peter and John had followed Jesus at a distance. I was there in the crowd the day Jesus was crucified. Most of us were, but spread out, one here, one there, trying not to attract attention. We didn't want to see it, but we couldn't stay away. Have you ever seen a man crucified? I hope you never do. They put the cross on the ground, and they laid Jesus on top of it. Then they placed his hands on the crossbeam. Those wonderful hands of his, hands that had healed, comforted, and blessed, but had never hurt a single living thing. And they pounded huge nails through them, nails like these. I leave you to imagine what it was like, not just to have these pounded through your hands, but to be hung up by them and left to die with a jeering crowd looking on. It was a horrible day for him. And it was also the most awful day of my life. I stayed until Jesus had died. I was too far away to hear his words from the cross. But I saw the soldier plunge a spear into his side, and I knew he was gone. Then I went away in such a haze of grief, it's hard to remember even where I went or what I did. Then Sunday came, and I wasn't with the others. I didn't see them until Monday morning, and they told me some wild tale about having seen Jesus alive again. Now I put it to you. If you had watched a man die an unforgettable death, if you were as sure of that death as you were of your own name, what's your reaction going to be when somebody tells you he's been seen again, alive and well? It was beyond belief, and I said so. I told him, unless I see in his hands the print of the nails, and place my finger in the mark of the nails, I will not believe. They were angry with me for not believing them. They didn't believe either when the women first told them that Jesus had risen. They didn't believe until they saw him for themselves. Why was I so terrible for wanting to see for myself? It was a whole week before I saw him. We were together in the upper room with the doors locked for safety, and suddenly Jesus was there. I mean, one minute he wasn't, and the next he was. It took my breath away. Took my breath away. And he walked right up to me and said, "Here, Thomas, put your fingers in the nail wounds, and be not faithless, but believing." And I sank to my knees, sobbing like a child, "My Lord and my God." But he was very gentle. He put one of his poor, wounded hands on my head and said softly, "Have you believed because you have seen, Thomas? Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe." Well, I was never the same again after that night. You may call me slow to believe, but once I do believe, I'll stake my life on that belief. That, after all, is what we are asked to do. So what does it take to make you believe? Do you have to see miracles, have visions, hear voices? Take it from me, you have all you need in the Scriptures, all the evidence anyone should require. Give yourself to it and believe. If you can believe having not seen, you will draw down a blessing upon yourself. A personal blessing from Jesus, who was and is the Son of God.